Book study. Today we're going to be finishing with our book, Lost Book of Enki. See, I got a lot of views. Everybody keep checking it out. Subscribe. We were at the part where they began to have disruption amongst the hierarchy of the people from the Bureau. So I'm gonna finish reading from there. On all lands from west to east, a disruptive hand of terror was placed. The gods in their cities were helpless as men. An evil wind, a storm born in a distant plain, a great calamity wrought in its path. A death-dealing wind born in the west, its way to the east, has made its course set by fate. A storm devouring as a deluge by wind and not by water, a destroyer, by poison air, not tidal waves, overwhelming. By fate, not destiny, was it injured. The great gods in their council the great calamity had caused. By Enlil and the Harsag it was permitted, our long for a halt was beseeching. Day and night to accept what the heavens decree are argued, to no avail. The Nurta, Enlil's warrior son, and Nergal, my very own son, poisoned weapons in the great plain. Then unleashed, that an evil wind shall follow the brilliance we knew not. They now cry in agony. That the death-dealing storm born in the west its course to the east shall make, who could foretell the gods now bemoan. In their holy cities the gods stood disbelieving as the evil wind towards Shumer made its way. One after another gods fled the cities, their temples abandoned to the wind. In my city Eridu, as the poison cloud approached, I could do nothing to stop it. Escaped to the open steep, to the people I gave instructions. With Ninki my spouse the city I abandoned. In this city, Nippur, place of the bond, heaven, earth, Enlil could do nothing to stop it. The evil wind against the pearl was onrushing. In his celestial boat, Enlil and his spouse hurriedly took off. In Shumer's city of kingship, Nanar to his father Enlil for help cried. In the place of the temple that to heaven in 7 steps rises, Nanar, the hand of fate, refused to heed. My father who begot me, great God who to had granted kingship, turned the evil wind away, Nanar pleaded. Great God who decrees the fates, let and its people be spared, your praises to continue, Nanar appealed. Enlil answered his son, Nanar, noble son, your wondrous city, kingship was granted. Eternal reign, it was not granted. Take hold of your spouse Ningal, flee the city, even I who decree fates, its destiny I cannot bend. Thus did Enlil, my brother, speak. Alas, alas, not a destiny it was, a calamity none greater, since the deluge, God and earthlings had befallen. Alas, not a destiny it was. The great deluge was destined to happen. The great calamity of a death-dealing storm was not. By the breach of a vow, by a council decision, it was caused. By weapons of terror, it was created. By a decision, not destiny, were the poison weapons unleashed. By deliberation was the lot cast. Against Marduk, my firstborn, did the 2 sons destruction, direct vengeance was in their hearts. A descendancy is not Marduk's to grasp. Enlil's firstborn shouted, with weapons I shall oppose him, Ninurta said. Of people he raised an army, but Billy, as earth's navel to declare, Nergal, Marduk's brother, so shouted. In the council of the great gods, words of venom were spread. Day and night I raised my voice. Peace I counsel, deploring haste. For the second time the people have raised his heavenly image. Why does opposing continue, I asked in pleading. Have all the instruments been checked? Did not the era of Marduk in the heavens arrive? I once more inquired. Niging Shizita, my very son, other signs of heaven sighted. His heart I knew, Marduk's injustice to him could not forgive. Nannar to Enlil on earth born was unrelenting too. Marduk, my temple in the north city is on the bowl made, so he said. Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, punishment demanded. In my lands to whore after him the people he made, he said. Utu, son of Nannar, and Marduk's son, Nabu, his wrath directed. The place of the celestial chariots he tried to seize. Enna, the twin of Utu, was furious of all. The punishment of Marduk for the killing of her beloved Dumuzi she still demanded. Ninharsag, mother of gods and men, her gaze averted. Why is not Marduk here, she only said. Jibil, my own son, with gloom replied, Marduk has all entreaties put aside by the signs of heaven. His supremacy he claims. Only with weapons will Marduk be stopped, Nannar Enlil's firstborn shouted. Utu, about protecting the place of the celestial chariots, was concerned. In Marduk's hand it must not fall, so he said. Nergal, lord of the lower domain, ferociously was demanding, let the olden weapons of terror for obliteration be used. At my own son I gazed in disbelief, for brother against brother. The terror weapons have been forsworn. Instead of consent there was silence. In the silence Enlil opened his mouth. Punishment there must be. Like birds without wings the evildoer shall be. Marduk and Nabu, us of heritage are depriving. Let them of the place of the celestial chariots be deprived. Let the place be scorched to oblivion, Nannar shouted. The one who scorches, let me be, excited. The girl stood up and shouted, let the evildoer cities also be upheavaled. The sinning cities let me obliterate. Let the annihilator my name thereafter be. The earthlings by us created must not be harmed. The righteous with the sinners must not perish, I forcefully said. Nannar said my creating helpmate was consenting. The matter is between the gods alone to settle. The people must not be harmed. Anu, from the celestial bowl, to the discussions was giving much heed. Anu, who determines fates, from his celestial bowl, his voice made heard. Let the weapons of terror be this once used. Let the place of the rocket ships be obliterated. Let the people be spared. Let Ninurta the Scorcher be Nergal the Annihilator. So did Enlil the decision announced. To them a secret of the gods I shall reveal. The hiding place of the terror weapons to them I shall disclose. The two sons, one mine, one his. To his inner chamber, Enlil summoned Nergal as he went by me, his gaze averted. Alas, I cried out without words. Brother has turned against brother. Are the proud times fated to repeat? A secret from the olden times to them Enlil was revealing, the weapons of terror to their hands entrusting. Clad with terror with their brilliance they are unleashed. All they touch to a dust heap they turn. For brother against brother on earth they were forsworn, neither reaching to effect. Now the oath was undone, like a broken jar in useless pieces. The two sons, full of glee, with quickened step from Enlil's chamber emerged for the weapons departing. The other gods turned back to their cities. None of his own calamity had a foreboding. Now this is the account of the prior times and of the weapons of terror. Before the prior times was the beginning. After the prior times were the olden times. In the olden times the gods came to the earth and created the earthlings. In the prior times none of the gods was on the earth, nor were the earthlings they had fashioned. In the prior times the abode of the gods was on their own planet. Nibiru is its name, a great planet, reddish in radiance around the sun. An elongated circuit Nibiru makes. For a time in the cold is Nibiru engulfed, for a part of its circuit by the sun strongly is it heated. A thick atmosphere Nibiru envelops by volcanic eruptions, constantly fed. All manner of life of this atmosphere sustains, without it there will be only perishing. In the cold period, the inner heat of Nibiru, it keeps about the planet like a warm coat that is constantly renewed. In the hot period, it shields Nibiru from the sun's scorching rays. In the mixed rain, it holds and releases to lakes and streams, giving rise. Lush vegetation in our atmosphere feeds and protects all manner of life in the waters and on the land to sprout it causes. After eons of time, our own species sprouted by our own essence and eternal seed to procreate. As our numbers grew to many regions of Nibiru, our ancestors spread. Some till the land, some four-legged creatures sheep herding, some live on the mountains, some in the valleys their homes made. Rivalries occurred, encroachments happened, clashes occurred, sticks became weapons, clans gathered into tribes. Then two great nations each other faced. The nation of the north against the nation of the south took up arms. What was held by a hand to thrusting missiles was turned. Weapons of thunder and brilliance increased the terror. A war long and fierce engulfed the planet. Brother amassed against brother. There was death and destruction both north and south. For many circuits, desolation reigned the land. All life was diminished. Then a truce was declared. Then peacemaking was conducted. Let the nations be united, the emissaries said to one another. Let there be one throne on Nibiru, one king to reign over all. Let a leader from north or from south by lot be chosen, one king supreme to be. If he be from north, let south choose a female to be his spouse, as equal to reign alongside. If by lot a south male be chosen, let the north female be his spouse. Husband and wife, let them be as one flesh to become. Let their firstborn son be successor. Let a unified dynasty thus be formed. Unity on Nibiru forever to establish. In the midst of the ruins, peace was started. North and south by marriage were united. The royal throne into one flesh combined, an unbroken line of kingship established. The first king after peace was made, a warrior of the north. He was a mighty commander. By lots, true and fair, he was chosen. His decrees and unity were accepted. For his abode he built a splendid city, Agade. Unity meaning was his name. For his reign at royal time he was granted, and it was a celestial one, was its meaning. With strong arm order in the lands he reestablished laws and regulations he decreed. Governors for each land he appointed. Restoration and reclamation were their foremost task. Of him in the royal annals, thus it was recorded, and the land's unified peace on the bureau he restored. He built a new cities, the canals he repaired, food to the people he provided, there was abundance in the land. For his spouse, the South maiden had chosen, for both love and warring she was noted, and too was her royal title, the leader who was Anne's spouse, the name given cleverly did mean. She bore Anne 3 sons and no daughters. The firstborn son was by her named Enki. By a solid foundation was his meaning. Along the throne he was seated as spouse. To choose was twice postponed. In his reign concubines were brought into the palace. A son to him was not born. The dynasty thus begun was by the death of Enki disrupted on the foundation, no offspring followed. The middle son, though not the firstborn, the legal heir was pronounced. From his youth, one of 3 brothers, Ib by his mother was lovingly called. The one in the middle, his name did mean. And by royal annals and Ib, he is named in kingship celestial. By generations, the one who was Anne's son, the name signified. He followed his father, and on the Nibiru's throne by count, he was the 3rd to reign. The daughter of his youngest brother, he chose to be his spouse. Ninib, she was called the Lady of Ib. A son to Ninib by Ninib was born. The successor on the throne, he was the 4th by the count of kings. Okay. And took a short break, pause for the call.